You know that feeling when someone walks into a room and something feels off? Not dramatically wrong, just subtly uncomfortable in a way you can't quite name. Maybe it's the way they hold themselves or how their eyes dart around seeking something. You sense the pull of their energy before they even speak, and honestly, it makes you want to step back rather than lean in. If you've ever wondered why certain men seem to repel rather than attract, even when they're objectively attractive or successful, stay with me. This isn't going to be another 5-step guide promising instant transformation. Instead, we're going to decode the quiet psychology behind body language that either draws people in or pushes them away, and it has everything to do with where someone's emotional center of gravity actually sits. 1. The validation scanner. Picture this. You're at a coffee shop, and there's a guy at the corner table. Nice enough looking, well-dressed, but something about him feels hungry. Not for food. His eyes sweep the room every few minutes, landing on people's faces just a little too long, as if he's checking for approval ratings in real time. When the barista smiles at him, he lights up like a Christmas tree. When she turns away, his shoulders deflate slightly. This is what I call the validation scanner, and it's one of the most universally off-putting things a person can do with their body language. The constant visual seeking, the micro-expressions that shift based on external feedback, the way their entire posture seems to hinge on whether someone else is paying attention. Here's the thing about validation scanning. It's not just needy, it's energetically draining. When someone's body language broadcasts that they need you to regulate their emotional state, your nervous system picks up on that responsibility immediately. And most of us, consciously or not, want to move away from that kind of pressure. The psychology behind this is fascinating. When someone is constantly scanning for approval, their nervous system is in a low-level state of activation, not quite fight or flight, but definitely not settled. Mirror neurons mean we pick up on that unsettled energy, and our own bodies respond by creating distance. The alternative isn't performing confidence or pretending you don't care what people think. It's genuinely finding your center in your own experience rather than in other people's reactions. When someone's body language communicates that they're okay regardless of external validation, there's something magnetically self-contained about that energy. 2. The apologetic stance. There's a particular way some men hold their bodies that looks like a walking apology. Shoulders slightly curved inward, head tilted down just enough to avoid direct eye contact, hands often fidgeting or hidden in pockets. It's as if their entire physical presence is asking permission to exist in the space. This isn't about shy versus outgoing. Some of the most compelling people I know are naturally quiet. This is about the difference between choosing to be understated and shrinking because you don't believe you deserve to take up space. The apologetic stance does something interesting to the people around you. Instead of inspiring protectiveness or warmth, it often creates a subtle sense of irritation. Not because there's anything wrong with being gentle or humble, but because when someone's body language suggests they don't believe in their own right to be there, it puts pressure on others to constantly reassure them. I noticed this pattern with someone I know who used to walk into rooms like he was bracing for rejection. His shoulders would round forward, his movements became smaller, and he'd scan faces for signs of disapproval. The irony was that this body language actually created the rejection he was trying to avoid, not because people were cruel, but because his physical presence was asking them to take on the emotional work of making him feel welcome. The shift happened when he started focusing on what he brought to interactions rather than what he might lack. His posture didn't become aggressive or puffed up, it became neutral, present, and suddenly, people started gravitating toward him instead of feeling burdened by his need for reassurance. 3. The performance peacock. On the opposite end of the spectrum is the performance peacock, the man whose body language screams, "Look at me," from across the room. Big gestures, loud laughs, posture that takes up maximum space, movements that seem designed to catch attention rather than express genuine feeling. This might seem more confident than the apologetic stance, but it's actually coming from the same place, an external focus. The peacock's body language is just as dependent on outside validation as the scanner's. It's just louder about it. You can spot this in the way someone enters a room. Do they naturally settle into the space, or do they perform their entrance? Are their gestures connected to what they're actually feeling, or are they calibrated for maximum visual impact? The performance peacock creates a different kind of energetic drain. Instead of asking you to reassure them, they're asking you to be their audience. Their body language demands attention rather than inviting connection, and there's something exhausting about being around someone whose physical presence feels like a one-man show. Here's what's fascinating. The most genuinely attractive body language often goes almost unnoticed at first. It's not performing anything. It's just present, aligned. The person's physical expression matches their internal state, and there's something deeply settling about being around someone whose body language isn't asking anything from you. Now, if you're starting to recognize some of these patterns either in yourself or people you know, stay with me. The next insight is going to subtly reframe everything you think you know about control and attraction. 4. The controller's grip. This one's subtle but unmistakable once you know what to look for. It's the body language of someone who needs to orchestrate the emotional atmosphere around them. They lean in just a little too intensely during conversations. Their eye contact has a quality of scrutiny rather than presence, and their physical positioning seems designed to manage or direct other people's responses. The controller's grip shows up in micro movements. The way someone steps slightly closer when they sense you pulling back, how their body language shifts to mirror yours in a way that feels calculated rather than natural, or the subtle positioning that keeps them at the center of group dynamics. This isn't about healthy leadership or natural charisma. This is about someone whose nervous system can't settle unless they feel they're controlling the relational field around them. And bodies are incredibly smart. We can sense when someone's physical presence is trying to manage us, even when they're not consciously aware they're doing it. The controller's body language creates a particular kind of resistance in others. It's not that they're doing anything overtly aggressive or inappropriate, but there's something about their physical presence that makes you want to assert your autonomy. You might find yourself stepping back, breaking eye contact, or feeling inexplicably defiant around them. Someone I know used to do this thing where he'd position himself to monitor everyone's reactions during conversations, his body language subtly herding people toward the responses he wanted. He wasn't manipulative in any conscious way, but his need to control the emotional field was written all over his physical presence. People would start conversations with him feeling open and end them feeling managed. The transformation happened when he learned to occupy space without needing to control it. His body language became genuinely relaxed rather than strategically positioned, and suddenly people stopped feeling the need to resist him. Feek, the anxious attachment display. This might be the most heartbreaking one because it usually comes from genuine care, but it's body language that broadcasts emotional instability in relationships. It's the subtle ways someone's physical presence communicates that their nervous system is dependent on external reassurance to regulate itself. You see this in the micro-expressions that flicker across someone's face when you're not responding the way they hoped, the way their body language shifts toward anxiety when you're focused on something else, or the physical restlessness that communicates they need emotional attention to feel secure. The anxious attachment display isn't about being affectionate or expressive. It's about body language that makes your nervous system feel responsible for someone else's emotional regulation. Their physical presence seems to be constantly asking, "Are we okay? Do you still like me? Did I do something wrong?" This creates an exhausting dynamic where your own body language has to become therapeutic, constantly reassuring, soothing, managing their nervous system through your physical responses. And the cruel irony is that this dynamic often creates the very disconnection the person is trying to prevent. I watched this pattern play out with someone close to me whose body language would shift into subtle panic whenever he sensed any distance in relationships. His posture would become slightly desperate, his movements more seeking, his entire physical presence broadcasting emotional emergency. The women in his life would inevitably start pulling back, not because they didn't care, but because being around someone whose body language makes you feel responsible for their emotional stability is incredibly draining. The shift came when he learned to self-soothe through his own physical presence rather than seeking regulation through others. His body language became genuinely calm rather than performing calm while internally scrambling for reassurance. Here's what's interesting about all these patterns. They all stem from the same core issue. Whether someone is scanning for validation, apologizing for their existence, performing for attention, trying to control responses, or seeking emotional regulation, their body language is oriented externally. Their physical presence is asking something from the environment rather than simply being present within it. The alternative isn't becoming cold or disconnected. It's what I call the detached observer, body language that communicates you're fully present without needing anything from the interaction to feel complete. The detached observer's body language has a quality of settled attention. They make eye contact without scanning for approval. They occupy space without apologizing or performing. They respond to others without trying to control the response they get back. Their physical presence feels both engaged and free, like they're choosing to be there rather than needing to be there. This isn't about perfecting your posture or memorizing confident body language techniques. It's about the internal shift that naturally creates attractive physical presence, finding your emotional center of gravity within yourself rather than in other people's responses to you. When someone's body language truly embodies this detached observer quality, something magnetic happens. People feel both seen and free around them. There's no pressure to perform, no need to manage their emotional state, no sense that your responses are being evaluated or controlled. Here's the quiet revelation that ties all of this together. The most attractive body language isn't about what you're doing with your body. It's about what you're not doing with your nervous system. You're not scanning for approval, so your eyes are free to actually see people. You're not protecting against rejection, so your posture is free to be naturally open. You're not performing for attention, so your movements can be genuinely expressive. You're not trying to control responses, so your presence can be truly present. You're not seeking emotional regulation, so your body language can communicate stability rather than need. This is the paradox of attractive body language. It becomes magnetic not by trying to attract, but by being so centered in your own experience that others are drawn to that quality of internal freedom. The body language that turns people off isn't really about specific poses or movements. It's about the underlying energy of need that gets communicated through physical presence. And the body language that draws people in isn't about perfecting techniques. It's about the energy of wholeness that naturally expresses itself when you're not trying to get anything from the interaction. Letting go doesn't mean losing connection or becoming indifferent. It means choosing to connect from freedom rather than from lack, engaging with others because you want to rather than because you need to, and allowing your body language to express your genuine internal state rather than trying to manage external responses. When you stop using your body language to seek, control, or protect, something shifts in the entire field around you. People stop feeling the need to manage your emotional state, resist your control, or protect themselves from your need. Instead, they get to experience the rare gift of being around someone whose physical presence asks nothing from them while offering complete attention. This isn't about becoming perfect or never feeling insecure. It's about recognizing that your most attractive self isn't the one trying to attract. It's the one who has found their center and can connect with others from that place of internal stability. Your body language becomes a natural expression of internal freedom rather than a strategy for getting external validation. And ironically, that's when people start gravitating toward you, not because you need them to, but because your presence gives them permission to be equally free. Thank you for staying with me through this exploration. I have a feeling you already knew some of these truths on a deeper level. You just needed someone to name them clearly. Your capacity to hold yourself with this kind of gentle detachment is already there. It's just a matter of trusting it enough to let it show up in how you move through the world. If this resonated with you, I'd love to continue these conversations about the subtle psychology of human connection. There's so much more to explore about how we communicate without words, and how the most profound shifts happen not through technique, but through the quiet courage to be genuinely ourselves.